Hey teachers, do you love using picture books in your classroom? Well, duh, who doesn't, right? So I absolutely love sharing my favorite picture books with all of you, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. But today's books that I have to share with you have a very special focus. These books are great to use to help celebrate National Disability Awareness Month, which I believe is the month of March. But of course, you can use these books any time of year to really make sure that all of our students are seen and heard in the literature that we are sharing. So I have 3 books that I'm going to share with you today that I think are absolutely amazing. And I have more, of course, over on my blog. So if you want to grab the links to these or you want more recommendations, make sure to click that see more button below to check that out. But before we start, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything from the Sierra Harris Teaching Channel in the future, like more book recommendations. Okay, so like I said, the books today are going to be perfect for celebrating National Disability Awareness Month, which is in the month of March. So the books that I picked for you today are very, very special and meaningful, and I think you are going to enjoy hearing about them. So the first book I have for you today is called Moses Goes to a Concert. This is about a young boy who is deaf, and he got a new drum set for Christmas, which he loves because, of course, he can't hear the drums, but he can feel the vibrations in his hands and in his feet when he takes his shoes off. And he goes to a special school where other students are deaf as well. And they go to a concert where they actually get to experience the full orchestra, and they find out that the percussionist and the director and person, she is deaf as well. And so they get to talk to her, and they get to hear about her story and how she became this amazing musician. And it's just a really, really fun story to show that, even students who have disabilities are able to do things just like everyone else. One thing I really love about this book is throughout the story, it shows basic sentences in sign language. And it's just really a really fun, easy story, but another great one to really talk about how, even students who have disabilities, whether we can see them or not, they're just like everyone else. Everyone, we all have our differences. We all have similarities. So again, Moses Goes to a Concert. This is by Isaac Millman. So make sure to check this one out. The next book I have for you today is called Just Ask. This book actually is becoming quite popular, and that just makes my heart so happy because this is a book that needs to be very, very popular. And this is something that I definitely teach my kids when they were growing up. They would see people out in public who maybe were missing an arm, or, were on crutches, or they were in a wheelchair, or whatever it may be. There was a visual difference. And as kids do, they're curious because something is different, and they're looking, they're staring. And instead of, having that awkward stare, I always encouraged them to go up and ask and talk to, the person who has the disability. Kind of what this book talks about. It's about, just ask questions. It's okay. And so the book goes through lots of different characters, and each character has a different disability. And they're disabilities that a lot of students can relate with. And the great thing is the metaphor that they use throughout the story is, of course, planting seeds, how they're all different. They all grow different shapes and sizes and smells and colors, but they all start out as those amazing seeds. And it talks about how all kids are different too. So this one is a little boy who has diabetes, and he has to give himself shots and check his blood sugar. Then it goes into a little boy named Raphael who has asthma. So a lot of our kids nowadays have asthma. There's a little boy who's in a wheelchair. And again, it gives students questions that they could ask. How do you get from place to place? So it prompts them with the different questions that they could ask. Madison and her guide dog, you could see her here. And it says, how do you use your senses? So just really unique questions. And the whole book is like that. So then it talks about, how, again, everyone is different and unique in all special ways, and we consider all those our superpowers. And then the last question is, how will you use your powers? It's just an amazing, amazing book. Each of us grow in our own way, and I think this would really relate to all students and would make a really unique writing activity as well, to really have students write about their differences. Maybe there's things that, you don't know about your students, or the students don't know about each other. And so what better way to talk about those differences than through a mentor text? So Just Ask, this one is by 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. So make sure to check that one out. All right, the last one I have for you today, I'm going to try not to cry. I may cry. I'm just letting you know. When I found this book, it really hit home for a lot of different reasons. The book is called A Boy and a Jaguar. It is by 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly. And illustrated by 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹. This is about a young boy who has a stutter. And he realizes that he has a stutter when he's trying to talk. And he explains it, and he says, I tried to explain, but my mouth freezes just as I know it would. I am a stutterer. If I try to push words out, my head and my body shake uncontrollably. But he doesn't have the stutter when he talks to animals. And so throughout the story, he realizes that he has this gift of talking to animals and that his stutter goes away. And so when he grows up, he actually uses his ability to talk to animals to advocate for them. And so he starts off by going into the Great Smoky Mountains to study black bears. He feels like when he is alone in the forest with the animals, he feels at home. In the beginning of the story, he talks about how he never feels at home, how he had to go to a different classroom for disruptive children, even though he wasn't really being disruptive. And then he went to Belize to study the jaguars. And I've recently I got to experience Belize and the beauty of that country and the jaguar preserve. So I've actually been here and I've seen the work that he has done. And so he goes on and on to talk about how his work with jaguars, he was studying them, but people were killing them. So he went to the capital city of Belize and talked to the prime minister and advocated for the jaguars. And then they voted on opening up the world's first and only jaguar preserve. And so that was his life's work. And it's just an amazing, amazing story about him. And the author is actually the boy in the story. So he's actually telling his story. So in the very back, it goes into a little bit more about the author and some questions that students have about jaguars. And the reason this book hits home to me is because my son was recently diagnosed with Tourette's. And I've just experienced the hardships that he goes through day in and day out because of his stutter and because of his tics. And seeing and hearing this book and connecting with it on such an emotional level was so powerful, and being able to share it with him was just an amazing experience. He got to see that, he's going to grow up and be wonderful. He's going to do wonderful things despite his disability. So this is another great one, again, to share with your students. A Boy and a Jaguar. Just a wonderful, wonderful story. So definitely make sure to check that one out. So friends, I'm sorry I got a little emotional on you, but of course I love sharing personal connections to stories. But these are 3 great, amazing picture books that you can share any time of the year, but specifically in March for National Disability Awareness Month. And again, check out my blog post if you want more recommendations or the links to these. Click that See More button down below for links. And of course, before you leave, make sure to hit that subscribe button again, or if you haven't already, that way you get notifications on all new videos published by Sierra Harris Teaching Channel. So thanks so much, friends, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.